98 Sports Talk here with my Oklahoma Georgia Rose Bowl post game reaction. First of all, what a game. What an amazing game. When you talk about the 2017 college football season, you're going to talk about this game right here. I mean, you had the Heisman Trophy winner, Baker Mayfield, and that high powered Oklahoma offense versus that, Georgia defense that everybody's been talking about and that running game. And I mean, you really got to, you got to give credit to both teams. I mean, this was an amazing game. Oklahoma came out looking really good in the first half. They were almost moving the ball at will. I mean, they were seemingly, getting, whatever they wanted. They were creative offensively. They could run the ball, which I think will surprise a lot of people. I mean, they really were having their way. Personally, I didn't think Georgia would have too much success slowing down that passing attack from Baker Mayfield, but I did think that Georgia would be able to stop the Oklahoma running game, and that just was not the case in the first half. I mean, Oklahoma just ran all over Georgia, passed all over Georgia. I mean, they basically had their way offensively. They were doing, whatever they wanted to do. And Georgia, Georgia had some big plays offensively. Jake Fromm did enough to kind of keep them in the game. He made some excellent plays in that first half, but going into halftime, I mean, Oklahoma, I believe the lead was two touchdowns. I mean, so you had, at halftime, you're looking at an Oklahoma team with that high-powered offense. The Big 12 champs. They like to throw it all over the field. You're looking at that team with what is probably one of the better offenses, maybe. I don't know about the history of college football, but they obviously had a really good offense with a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who clearly, I mean, and look, it's no joke that, he wasn't just given the Heisman. I mean, Baker went out and he earned that Heisman Trophy with his play. I mean, he clearly was the best player on the field all season long, and he's clearly an elite quarterback. So, with Georgia going, at halftime, with Georgia being down two touchdowns, Oklahoma was a very confident team with a confident quarterback, with an elite, quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, you had to be concerned if you're a Georgia fan. But I've said this all season that, and people I think are going to start believing in this. Kirby Smart is an elite coach. He's not a good coach. I don't think, I, great. I don't even, might be the word, but that might not even be it. Kirby Smart, I believe, is an elite coach, and he is proving that with Georgia's play. I mean, this is basically the same Georgia team as last year, and this Georgia team just plays with a different attitude, a different confidence, a different belief that no matter what the score is, they believe that they can win a football game. And so, the dogs go into halftime thinking, they got to be thinking, or the fans have got to be thinking, Oklahoma fans got to be thinking, well, we probably got this one. Georgia fans have to be thinking, got to be a little bit worried at what they saw, especially with that Oklahoma running game, because I'd say that's one of the things that, scratching my head now, maybe that was, maybe that's a sign, but I was really surprised that Oklahoma was able to have so much success running the football on Georgia. I really thought that Georgia would shut down that running game of Oklahoma, but they didn't. And so at halftime, I was thinking, oof, we're gonna have to make some adjustments. I don't, I'm not a big X's and O's guy, but something's going to have to be done. Something's going to have to be done to stop that run, because I never believed we could just, stop Baker Mayfield. I mean, so to me, we had to stop that run, and clearly Kirby Smart made the necessary adjustments. And one thing that I noticed personally was the fact that Oklahoma seemed to be getting to in the first half. They seemed to be getting a player, an offensive lineman, or a tight end, or somebody to get into the next level and be able to put a hat on Roquan Smith. Because Roquan really wasn't making that many plays in the first half, and the reason is he was getting blocked. In the second half, you didn't see that so much. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and rewatch the game, which I'm going to do. But Oklahoma, something changed, and I believe Kirby Smart made some adjustments in at halftime to free up Roquan Smith to where he could run around and do what he's been doing all season as the Butkus Award winner and make some plays. So in the first, one of the big differences in that game was Roquan Smith just got freed up. He was freed up to make tackles. Obviously the game had massive momentum shifts. Coming out of halftime, Georgia was just doing what Georgia fans thought, and just manhandling Oklahoma coming out on the second half. OU had the ball to start the second half with a 2-touchdown lead. But, the Dogs, Kirby had them believing clearly that they could win this game. And the Dogs came out, and I know they got 2 3-and-outs in a row. They might have even got 3. And they really just shut Oklahoma down pretty much the entire second half, which, when you look back on it, I mean, that's pretty amazing to think that, a Baker Mayfield-led Oklahoma offense basically got shut down in the second half. Oklahoma got the one turnover where Sony Michel fumbled the ball, and it turned into a scoop and score for the Oklahoma defense. That ended up, I can't remember if that tied the game or gave Oklahoma the lead. I believe it gave Oklahoma the 7-point lead with about 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And at that point, but again, Georgia didn't give up. Georgia kept their head down. They kept playing the game, just like they've done all season. One of Kirby Smart's mottos has been "keep chopping wood." And that basically is it means that just don't give up no matter what happens. Just keep playing, play the next play, give it everything you got. And it was a huge drive by Jake Fromm. I mean, and you can't give enough credit to Jake Fromm. I mean, people, everybody wants to talk about Georgia's running game, Chubb and Michelle, and then DeAndre Swift. But, I mean, what a game by a true freshman, Jake Fromm, that, everybody said, oh, he's just a game manager. I want to see him, actually throw the ball. I don't think he can, beat Baker Mayfield, blah, blah, blah. Nobody has given Jake Fromm enough credit to this point, but I think, I think he's going to earn a lot more credit, and he's going to come under more fire, obviously, after having such a good game. More pressure is going to be put on him for the national championship game, and obviously next season. But what a game by Jake Fromm. He, one of the big plays he had on that drive was where Oklahoma got some pressure on him late in that game. He had tucked the ball, and it looked like he was going to run for it, but he kept his head up. And I believe he found one of the backs, and I think it was DeAndre Swift out of the backfield, and got a huge third down conversion there on that drive late in the game when Georgia went down to tie it up with a minute left. And I'll tell you, from where I was sitting, Baker Mayfield with 1 minute to go and the ball and a chance to go to the national championship, I was pretty nervous. I thought that and because all they needed was a field goal, to just take the lead and win it. I really thought that, Oklahoma had, obviously Oklahoma got a great opportunity there to drive down the field and kick a field goal and win the game. But again, Georgia's defense stood tall like they did the entire second half and even in overtime. They came up with, they got the stop they needed. So, the end game to me was, Georgia's defense was just a little bit better than that Oklahoma offense. And that's kind of that was kind of the story of the game there. Obviously we had a couple of turnovers there, in the second half, but I mean, Georgia's defense just stood tall on that drive and gave Georgia an opportunity to go and win the game in overtime. And then in overtime, you could see both teams got, and you can't blame that, especially Oklahoma. They were running the ball a lot. Both coaches, I think both staffs got a little bit conservative there. But let's be real. I mean, you can't really blame them. They didn't want to make a mistake, and Georgia came up. Lorenzo Carter, and I can't remember how tall he is, but I want to remember seeing a report something like he's like 6'6", and everybody knows how all these NFL players, college players, they all tend to overdo their height. So if a guy's really 6'5", they tend to list him at like 6'7". If he's really 6'1", they'll list him at 6'3". But I hear Lorenzo Carter is every bit of 6'5", 6'6". And you saw it on that field goal attempt where Georgia got that huge push up the middle, and Lorenzo was able to get that big old paw up there and block that kick, much like Georgia got that blocked kick in the SEC championship game against Auburn. So I mean, what a play by Lorenzo Carter! And then Georgia was able to ice it with the Sony Michel, wild dog formation, or whatever they call it. I think they call it a wild dog formation. Run in for the touchdown. But I mean, what an amazing game! I mean, you absolutely could not ask for anything more out of two teams. I mean, I think both teams left it all on the field. Both teams gave it everything they got. And Georgia Georgia did a little bit more. Georgia made a few more plays. They got the big field goal block, and they won the game to their credit. So great job to Kirby Smart. Congratulations to Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs. And I'm looking forward to these guys playing in Mercedes-Benz Stadium a week from now. I don't know the time of the game, but it'll be on Monday night sometime, maybe probably around 8 o'clock or something like that. And I'm doing this video after the Bama Clemson game, so I already know that Bama's won the game. So we're gonna get an all SEC matchup. So I want to hear any Big Ten fans. Let me know what you think, because all I heard about was how good the Big Ten was, and they're winning all these bowl games. Yet here the SEC is ruling the playoffs, and clearly, Bama deserved to be there over Ohio State. I mean, Bama just manhandled Clemson in that game. Really, I don't know if they manhandled them, but I don't think anybody really expected that a lopsided game. I certainly didn't. But I'm really looking forward to, you're gonna have the storylines are gonna be great. I mean, Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart in the national championship, the master, versus the student. The old guard, Saban, the traditional powerhouse. They've been there, done it, been winning championships, versus the new guy on the block, which is the Georgia Bulldogs right now. And I tell you, Georgia has a lot of momentum going into this game. But then so does Alabama. It's going to be a great matchup. I'm really looking forward to this game, obviously, and let's see what happens. So, great game. Congratulations to Georgia Bulldogs. You guys, let me know what you think in the comments section. I can't wait to see the reactions, and looking forward to that Monday night game, Georgia versus Bama for the national championship.